The U.S. Fire Administration reports that on average each year, 56,300 fires are started by children. And Paducah has had its fair share of fires. On this episode of Your City at Work, we'll learn about a local program called the Juvenile Firesetter Intervention Program of Paducah-McCracken County. I'm your host, Public Information Officer Pam Spencer. Stay with us. The Juvenile Firesetter Intervention Program of Paducah-McCracken County started in 2011, but all the planning work to get it off the ground started in 2010. The person who initiated this program is our Fire Marshal, Greg Cherry. Greg, thanks for joining us. Hi. Why start this kind of program? Was there a need in Paducah with juvenile firesetters?
Yes, there was. We was having a fire here and there involving juveniles. Then we had a couple fires where it involved 3 or 4 juveniles. And so at that time we realized we really didn't have nothing to offer as a diversion program in order to keep the kids out of court and stuff like that to offer to them.
So what is involved in this program? What did it take to actually get it off the ground? Because there was a lot of training. You had to pull together a lot of people.
Right. The first thing was that you needed representatives from different agencies to get this to work, and you need to have cooperation from the court system to use it as a diversion program. It started with myself and Officer Cindy Neoff from Paducah Police Department. We actually went to Dallas to learn how to put a program together. Then that was the first step. Then the second step was starting to get all the partners in place from throughout the city and county to be part of the task force. From there, we had to take a 40-hour class on the juvenile intervention program on how to teach and do the whole program itself.
And I think it really started in March of 2011.
Correct.
What's a quick overview of what the program involves?
Well, the first thing we start off is if a kid has either been caught or his parents catch him or is referred to us either through the court system, school system, or by a family member or a parent. They first go through an assessment to see if they're high risk, low risk, where they're at as a fire setter. Then after that determination is made, we do 4 hour-and-a-half classes, like every Tuesday in a row for a month. And during that time, they will cover several different topics from crime and punishment to fire safety to...
Well, you have a lot of partners who come in from Red Cross.
Yes, we have the partners that are involved in it is Red Cross, Necco, Family Court System, Social Services, Paducah Fire, Paducah Police, Paducah City School System, and Lourdes Hospital. And we're still looking at a couple other people who are joining the task force to help us with it.
Do you think this program is going to be successful?
So far, we've had several kids go through the program, and we have not seen any of them back as a repeat offender.
And that's got to be.
So far, it's a success.
Okay. And what would it take to make this program move forward? Because it takes some resources.
Right. Right now, we've been able to operate the program off of some grants that we received, some small grants. We are applying for some additional grants in order to keep it going. We have also branched out to where we will take kids from other communities that do not have a program, because we're the only one in this end of the state, as far as we know of. And so we're reaching out to some other counties if they want to refer kids to the program, that we're going to be doing that.
Okay, well, Greg, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Pam.
Well, up next, we're going to talk to Firefighter Ronnie Hines. He's one of the people who's been behind the scenes putting together the educational component of this entire program. A big part of the Juvenile Firesetter Intervention Program is education, and Ronnie Hines, a firefighter with the Paducah Fire Department, has been instrumental in putting together the program for the educational side. Well, Ronnie, thank you for joining me. And tell me a little bit about your history with the fire department before we get into the program.
I've been with the fire department about 8 years. As a person who likes to help people, I saw the job opening come in, and I thought this is something I could do.
Now, what made you want to get involved with the Firesetter program?
Greg come to me and a few other guys and said there was a need for this program, and I thought, well, this is an aspect I think that I can do. That I don't mind working with children, and I hope to educate them.
Well, that is a big part of the mission of the
Right.
fire department is education. Tell me a
Yes.
little bit about some of the things that you guys do to educate.
Well, when I was putting this together, one of the things I thought of is I would like to do it with their parents or whoever's caregiver. That a way that we can educate the parent also if they're missing anything and what they think might be safe practices. So when we have class time, we usually have the parent to be in there with us. So we teach about home safety and some of the consequences that fire setting could cause, and we hope to change their thinking.
Well, I know with a lot of the younger kids, it's curiosity.
Yes.
And so with the parents, it's a matter of making sure those
Right.
curious kids can't get
Right.
into something. What are some of the tips that you have for parents?
Anytime kids are going to learn through curiosity, but it's like anything, you need to keep it in check. Anytime that a kid's playing with fire, the parent needs to get with the child and tell them that fire is a tool. It's not to be played with. There's lots of serious consequences, and if they have any problems, they can contact us, call the fire marshal's office, and they can get in touch with us on the program.
Well, tell me about how you've arranged the educational part. I know there's 4 classes for the
Right.
Juvenile Firesetter
Right.
program. Kind of what's an overview of each night?
The first night we deal with home safety. Of course, anytime you have a juvenile that might be curious with fire, you have to take in consideration anyone else that might be in the home.
Right.
So you want to make sure their home is safe. That's the top thing. We want to make sure that their smoke detectors work, that they understand how to get in and out of the home quickly if they have to. The next night we kind of get a little more in depth on the consequences. We make it a little more personal that night. The consequences of how you might hurt yourself. The next night the third night we make it about how it affects other people.
Right.
And in the fourth night we end up giving them a little a certificate of completion. We want to make sure that they also make better choices. Make sure they get to thinking about other things they could do other than play with fire.
Okay, well, Ronnie, thank you for joining me,
ma'am.
and thank you for
Thank you.
everything that you
Yes,
do with
ma'am.
the fire
Thank you, ma'am.
department. Well, stay with us. Up next, we're going to find out what happens with these kids before they even get into this entire program. After a child is referred to the program, but before they go through the educational component, they need to be evaluated. And we have a partner that does the evaluations. It's an organization called Necco. And with me, I have the program director, Rhonda Riley. Hi, Rhonda.
Hi, Pam.
Well, tell me about Necco. Before you talk about the program, what all does Necco do?
Okay, well, Necco is a foster care agency, but we also provide several different services to the community. We do juvenile community work service. We do theft prevention educational classes to juveniles. We do substance abuse education classes to juveniles. We provide parenting classes to adults to improve their parenting skills. And we also do the evaluations for the Juvenile Firesetter Intervention Program.
Now tell me what happens during an evaluation. Once a child is referred to the program, they usually go to your office. And what happens?
Yes. I usually work with a family to schedule a time that is flexible for them to come in. And the juvenile and the parent or the guardian has to come in for the evaluation. And I conduct what is a comprehensive fire evaluation on the child and on the family members.
Okay.
So we sit down and we talk. I sit down and I meet with the family and the juveniles together, and we go through a list of questions that are on this evaluation from the fire incident that led them to be referred to this program, but also on family history. If they have moved, how many times they've moved in their life. Have there been any traumas in the family? Any kind of school problems, behavioral or academic, all of those things are assessed when I'm doing this evaluation. And then I meet with the child by themselves. Sometimes a juvenile can tell a different story when they're meeting with someone by themselves than when they're meeting with their family. So I ask those same questions, and with the juvenile by themselves. And then the family is completing a survey of what they think their child needs, how they think their child gets along with their peers, how they think their child does in school, how they think their child does on things when they're not there.
Okay.
That's what they are evaluating while I am meeting with the kids. And after we get done with the meeting, then they usually leave the office, and then I will score the evaluation. And depending on their answers, depending on the types of historical information I get from the family, they are given a certain level of risk for the class.
Okay.
There's low, there's moderate, and then there's a definite risk. And the low risk is they might have really just been interested in it, curious about it. And the moderate risk, it's kind of like that too.
Okay.
They might have been moderate, they might have had more curiosity, they might have had more fire play, more experience in causing some sort of damage with the fire.
Okay.
And then the definite risk is they really need a mental health component. They need to be referred to mental health services. Now, some of the kids that we've worked with before in this class already have a mental health component.
Okay.
And so that is usually me contacting that therapist or working with them to make sure they know what all was disclosed in the evaluation and what types of classes or how many classes this juvenile is going to be referred to. So we take all that information and we determine whether they're going to complete 2 classes or they're going to complete 4.
Because that's the way the program is structured. It's 4 educational classes, but if you're a lower risk, maybe you just need the 2. That's just kind of the general overview of safety and things like that.
That's exactly right. And I tell parents that usually, that by the time they come in, then they're at least going to have 2. So prepare themselves for that too.
Yeah.
By the time I get the results completed, then they may have to attend 4. And that's what the classes are. That 2 is just the educational at the beginning. All good information for any kid to hear.
Yeah.
And then the 4, it's more homework, it's more interaction, it's
Some
more
interviews that they need to conduct in the community, some more
Yes.
things that the child needs to kind of learn about themselves.
Yes.
And have you had a variety of results in the kids that we've seen so far?
Yes. I
Wow.
have. I've had we've had a couple low risk. We've had a couple moderate, and we have had a definite risk. And if their answers do end up showing a moderate or a definite risk, then I always provide a phone number or a contact information for a couple options for mental health services in
Okay.
Paducah. Because as you know, and as we all have gone through the training for this program, we learned that there's a lot of things that could go into making a child experience more with fire.
Right.
So that's why the mental health piece is there. And that's why I offer them a couple different phone numbers, a couple different contacts information so that they can hopefully check out the mental health options that works best for them.
And the evaluation that you're using is something that a lot of communities are using for juvenile fire setters. It is structured for that.
Yes, it is something that we were given as an option in the training through FEMA that we went through to use as an evaluation. When we were looking at the different evaluations that we were given, we all as a task force liked this fire assessment, liked the interview with the children, the interview with the family. We liked that whole component. It's just a very well-rounded assessment process.
Has it changed Necco in any way? Because this is kind of a new thing that you guys are taking on.
Well, we're on TV.
So yes, you're getting your word out there. Have you talked to any other offices that might be doing this?
Yes,
or?
we have. And we have children in our foster care program that have had some sort of involvement of playing with fire.
Okay.
So this educating ourselves and being part of this in the community has really helped our program. And yes, I've talked about it with our other offices in other areas across the state and talked about, how we partner in this area and what type of service that we provide for this program, and encourage other ones to do that as well.
Well, Rhonda, thank you for everything that you do with
Thank
Necco, and
you.
thank you for being a wonderful partner, because that is a vital component of this whole program is the evaluation.
Thank you, Pam. It's our pleasure.
Well, stay with us. We'll have much more coming up. great things about the Juvenile Firesetter Intervention Program are all the wonderful people who come out to the classes to help teach a class and provide information. One of those people is Family Court Judge Cynthia Sanderson, and Judge Sanderson is here with me today. Thank you so much for joining me. Tell me, when you come out to speak to the kids for the Juvenile Firesetter Program, what do you share with them?
Oh, I share, it depends on a lot of different things. It depends on the kids, what their background is. But mostly, I share with them something that I hope will affect them on a personal level. But more than that, I tell them about the law. But sometimes I try to talk to them about how people are hurt or injured by fires, and explain some of my first-hand experiences through the court system, what has happened and how it's impacted people's lives, and how it can disfigure a child for life and how it impacts them. But then I also talk about the law, which I'm not sure has that much impact. I'm hoping one of those two things will affect a child and maybe make a difference. But I try to describe about how what the difference in arsons are. Mm-hmm. For instance, there's much like murder or any other crime, there's levels of arsons. Right. First degree, second degree, third degree arson. I explain about arsons for obtaining money, like defrauding insurance companies. That's really not relevant to them, mm-hmm. but maybe one day it will become relevant if this continues to be an issue. I explain the different classifications of crime so that they have a concept as to where they are in the system and how, when they get older, they will become an adult, and suddenly what is merely a juvenile issue becomes an adult issue and could end them in prison if their behaviors continue. So I talk to them about the law, but I really like to talk to them about something very personal.
Very personal. And how can this program be used as a deterrent? How do you use it in your courtroom?
I'm not sure that I would consider it a deterrent from the courtroom's perspective. However, I think typically a deterrent, it would have to be so widely known, so publicized, and I'm not sure that that's the case. Maybe if it becomes so publicized, it could be a deterrent. I don't threaten kids with it. Okay. That's not very effective. Like if you go out and commit a fire or an arson, you'll go to this class. I think it's more of an educational program from my perspective, and hopefully in the future, the kids that go through it will be deterred. But early on, I mean, for the average child out there, I can't say that the program itself is a deterrent. Like criminal laws are deterrents against committing crimes. But I think the kids walk away, the ones that are in the program, I think they walk away with a better understanding of how they have affected the community. I think they have a better understanding of how their behavior has consequences, and maybe how they can modify that behavior to do something more positive. And of course, along the way, they've learned some law. They've learned a little bit about fires and how the community works as a whole. So it's a good program. It's really a good program.
Do you think this is something that is a problem in the community with juvenile fire setters? I mean, have you experienced through your cases very many?
I can't say that it's a huge population, and that's a good thing that we don't have a huge population of juvenile fire setters, because it is a serious problem when it exists. Personally, I think that it's just the iceberg of a more serious problem with that child. It's just the tip of the iceberg of a more serious problem. It's a manifestation of a lot of issues going on within the family and the child when a child is out burning places. So thank goodness we do not have a lot of children going out and committing fires, but one would be too many, and we've got far more than one. So it is a problem.
Is there anything that you recommend with the program that can be changed or altered or improved? Because, I mean, it is a new program. We've only been doing it a little over a year, and it's kind of a growth program. We're learning.
Oh, I think what we're doing today is a good thing, because as I mentioned earlier, the deterrent effect of this program hasn't come to fruition to the extent that it could, because we have to get the word out that this is a problem. We need to stop it. And if we can do that with this community awareness project that's going on with today, then maybe that will help the program and help improve the lives of these kids before it happens.
That's right, because right now we're seeing the kids after they've already done something.
Right.
But I know a big part of it has been trying to go out and educate all kids, but
Right.
it just seems like it's a small population, but it does have a big effect when somebody is
It can
a
have
fire starter.
not just a big effect, but a serious effect. That's the message I think we try to convey to kids. It's not like burning a trash can. It may start like burning a trash can, but it ends up ruining people's lives. It can kill the child, it can kill their family, it can kill the neighbors, it can destroy neighborhoods. And usually what appears to a child to be an innocent act of starting a match or lighting a lighter can be just so devastating to them. And I think that's the message we try to communicate, of what impact that little act can have. And most kids, just by the nature of the fact that they're kids, they don't think very far ahead.
Right.
They don't use that kind of judgment. And so we like to try to help them, at least with this little area in their lives, make them think ahead. Kids, as you know, their frontal lobes aren't always quite developed. Technically, they probably don't develop until they're 25. So their judgments are a little impaired, and we have so many expectations of them, but in reality, they're just not ready to make good judgments in life. So if they have the propensity to start fires, we need to make sure they understand the consequences of that.
And get the parents involved.
Yes.
What do you have to do to try to encourage the parents?
I think that's the hardest part of what's going on with this class, is making sure the parents are invested. It's one thing to try to get the child to the class, but it's another thing to get the parent involved with the child's education about fire safety and the whole family's education about fire safety. Because most of these children's parents, I find, don't take too much responsibility for the behaviors of their children. And that's unfortunate, because I find most kids are a product of their upbringing. That's usually the case. And if we could try to help the parents understand what they may be doing wrong or right, and encouraging the right and trying to fix the wrong, then maybe we can fix the kids. But unfortunately, that's not how it usually works with most parents. So if we can get the parent there and really get them invested in the program, then it works better.
And that's part of the program, is bringing the parents in, and it's great to have people like you who come out to the classes. So thank you, Judge Sanderson, for your involvement, and thank you for your hard work.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Stay with us. If you have a question about the program, please call Paducah Fire Marshal Greg Cherry at 270-444-8522. Remember to supervise children and keep lighters and matches in safe locations. Thank you so much for watching Your City at Work. I'm your host, Public Information Officer Pam Spencer. And Paducah has had. Please call Paducah Fire Marshal Greg Cherry at 444-8. I couldn't remember it.
Yes.
Almost.